block or no block. So you're either going to lie down on your stomach with palm on palm, elbows off to the side, but resting on the ground, and the forehead, if you can, sort of the main part of your forehead, not your brow bone, the forehead on the backs of the hands. Just check while you're settling in that the shoulders are feeling comfortable here, because this can cause a little rounding of the shoulders, which is not super great. Hi, Andrea. I think this time we're all muting ourselves. Otherwise, place your block on the mat, put your hands on either side of it, and put your forehead on that block slightly lower so you're getting, but still across the broad frontal plane. Close your eyes and just let the body drop into the ground here. So it's a sense, though it might be subtle, of unzipping the back body. So feel starting at the crown, sort of moving down across the occipital bone, down the back of the neck, through the thoracic and the lumbar sections of the spine, through the sacrum, and down the legs to the feet, and allow the feet to become extremely heavy so that the heels, as you release the lower part of your body, the heels will fall out. Okay, and you can just sort of zoom into that sense of almost flattening in the front body, a yielding. So everything just sinks into the ground on the front of the body, and the back body releases away from the spine. Let's close our mouths. Feel the softness around the jaw, across the lips, between the teeth. Just revisit this area, especially in some of the stronger sequences and balances. And just breathe here in any way you like. So if you want to do a pranayama technique or box breathing or anything, or simply just be with your breath here, the rise and the natural fall of it. Just allowing yourself with every exhalation to come into body, and commit just to the next 60 minutes for this yoke. Good. Now, regardless if you have your block or your head is on your hands, allowing the eyes to stay closed for just a little bit longer, the breath to be nice and easy. Begin to move over across the forehead to the right side towards your temple. Easing, you'll probably find, and do it slowly, Richard, you probably find a sensitive kind of spot, almost like a gentle bruising. That's a good sign. That's the spot where there's energy held, and just kind of stay there, rocking back and forth on it, or allowing the weight of the head into this prop, into the hands of the block. Just bring some pressure and some release there. It's like acupressure. And then this can be done when you're on your own. You know, you can play around with it, or you'll find all sorts of sensitive sweet spots, but there's usually a primary, and that's what we're going to today. And then gently roll back to center, feeling your way across the forehead, all that, the muscles and the tissue across there, and then proceed to the other side. Again, slowly going towards that left side of the head, towards the temple. Just being aware of sensations that come up. Maybe nothing will. I'm pretty sure something will, though. Allowing the weight of the head is what's producing this. And then, and then go back to where you found that sensation on the left side and allow the breath just to kind of sink into that area. Maybe offer the head a bit heavier into the prop. Whatever it is, just soak up that rich sort of work. And then coming back to center, we'll take our head from the hands. You can open the eyes here, setting the drishti down, or keep them closed for this opening sequence. It's up to you. So just move the block if you had it over to the side. The head is lifted and the arms are going to reach out, just like kind of Superman, and then they're going to flip open. Both arms are going to flip open. Pinky side of the edges will look at each other. Fire up your thighs. Your kneecaps will leave the ground. Press the pubic bone and the hips down and the top of the feet down. Reach through those open palms through the top of your space, possibly towards me. Maybe note what's happening in the shoulders. Just breathe here, really extending quite strong along those lines. Calf muscles are really engaged. Right. And then release back down. Bring the hands back and bring the fingertips to the just in front of the ears. Okay, elbows are floating. You're still off the mat. Breathe here on an inhale, maybe contracting the back a little more, getting a bit more height with the chest. Again, keeping the feet really rooted. You want to keep a nice, strong bottom of the body, a bottom of the posture. And then just follow your breath and move with it. So I would suggest a nice, slow, maybe 4 count, 6 count. Dip the right elbow towards the floor, keeping even through the hips. So nothing else changes, just here. Right? And then come back to center smoothly, slowly, and find the elbow left to the left side. And then feel the floating back to center and what it's like to find center. Go again to the other side. This is quite strong. Very core, obliques, transverse. So all the sideways come back up smoothly. One more time. Working up the upper back and over. And then come to center. Put the forehead down on the mat. Bring the arms down the body for a variation on locust, okay? Open the front of the shoulders. How you do that is engage the shoulder blades towards one another and you'll feel this space being created. And then the hands can come off the mat. And then slowly lift the chin, but ever so slightly that you're feeling the neck is very comfortably in line with the undulations of the spine, and then reach up in locust. Moving the heat from the upper back to the lower back. And let it radiate like a sunburst out of the lumbar section of the spine, creating that strength. Go away to me. And imagine that I've got your fingers and just gently encourage them to the back of your space. So we have very big shoulder caps. And then staying lifted, just move the hands, bring them forward and plant them on the mat. Press away and bring the forearms to the mat, imprinting your thumb and first finger primarily, okay? Everything is printed down, but try to keep the thumb and first finger down. Looking at the space between the thumbs, we're going to counterpose for that back bending and back heating by turning the toes under, lifting the body, so it's just under toes, knees, and forearms on the mat. Plug your belly up and really support the spine and those soft organs in the front of the body. Kind of know where your kidneys are. They're just sort of floating in mid-back, nothing too dramatic. And then lift the legs from the mat. And if they were going to roll, they were going to roll inwards. Imagine you've got a block between your upper thighs and you're squeezing that block. So you're not squeezing your bottom together where you're going to be pulling your heels in. It's the opposite. Pull the belly up. Now send the heels a little more strongly to the back of your space. So feel back so the knees wake up. This is strong. I'm shaking. It's incredibly, incredibly good. Just feel that you're burning away all the staleness that you might have accumulated over sleeping. It's a great one for morning. And then knees come down, bring the hips down, release the feet so the front of the ankles get the work. Fire up your thighs one more time and press the ground away for Sphinx. So really press the ground away, shrug the shoulders into the body, pull the elbows towards the hips and get the chest fully moving towards the front of the space. Press the ground. You'll know when you're really sort of working in the backs of the arms, the triceps are starting to have a conversation as well. Be okay. And make sure that the teeth are apart and the swallowing is easy. And then we're going to flow between these two complementary, they're sisters, okay, with our exhale. So just starting to ride that sort of flow. So inhaling. You can do it at your own pace, okay? Exhale, arm balance. Then there's that pause. You move, you sink the hips, you press the ground away, you feel the inhalation to the top, the apex, and there's a pause. Toes curl under, body lifts away from the mat, expressing the breath, firing up that stomach, right into core. Knees come down, release. This is great if you're feeling stagnant and kind of, you need some heat. This is amazing because it really radiates all the way from crown down. And then this time as you exhale, simply bring the elbows back to where they were and the forehead on the backs of the hands. Let the body soften for a moment. That's it. Lift the head from the hands, slide the hands beneath the shoulders. You can go a little farther if you want to, and take a cobra, but allow the movement to come from the larger vertebrae of the lower part of your spine. Breathe into the more delicate vertebrae as you move up to the neck. Feel the elbows, bringing them in, and thumb and first finger down. Find the back bend. Release the stomach. And then simply pull the belly up. As the hips come over the knees, I was off my mat. You probably want to walk forward a little bit. Take the knees very wide in a very wide child's pose, big toes together, lifting the sitting bones up so you have a natural curve in your lower back, and enjoy the process, enjoy the ride. So as you go back, do it smoothly, no jerking, and find the groin. So both leg creases. Possibly the adductors, the inner leg. And we're just going to stretch these arms out of the waist and out of the hips, offering the chest, maybe the throat or the forehead. The throat might be a little open for some. It's a version of puppy dog pose. The more you can sort of send your hips and the sitting bones towards the ceiling, which means you're tilting your pelvis, the spine is kind of in the center, you'll feel the groins in the first chakra get a release. Okay, and then to move away, press the hands down, pop the shoulders up, slide them in, and we're going to now finish that sequence, the opening with a side opener. Hands come over to the left, shoulders are even with the ground, and the body just breathes. It probably will sort of float up and down with the cycles of the breath. And again, throughout this practice, allow for your creativity. If you want to put palm on palm or be curious of making a slightly different shape that suits your uniqueness, then do it. I was saying last night, I'm just more like a doula. You're doing all the work. Come back to center and just notice how the right waist feels. Just notice. That's listening in, sensing in, not thinking. And then go to the other side without any sort of idea of where you're going to get to. Just allow that journey to be all of it. So I'm changing this side because my wall's a bit close, but it feels really good. My right arm's bent. And just develop quite a deep opening across the left chain, across the breathing muscles in the left rib cage and along your arm. And then come back to center. So pop the shoulders up, walk the hands back, shift the weight forward towards the wrist, and that will give the ability to bring your knees in. And you'll be kneeling. And you're going to turn the toes under and come to standing on your knees. And we're going to take a modified camel. Okay, so this is a heart opener. Imagine from diaphragm to your quadriceps. This is sort of against the wall. That's how I learned it. Bring the hands to the back of the hips and draw the elbows as close together as they will go. Plug the belly in. Try not to thrust forward because you just move into your lower back. You want this about releasing the upper, so the anterior chest wall, elbows, and then slowly lift and expose the chest. Feel the collarbones release their hold around your throat, around the thyroid. So just be comfortable in the neck. So find comfort in the neck. Ooh, it was my top vertebrae. And then so undo the feet, and we'll finish, not finish the practice, but finish the sequence. Taking the left leg out because we've moved everywhere. Right, we're going to mirror that open posture. Right, left leg in line with the right knee, okay, and the left arm there for on the inside, and that's to keep the depth. Because try without it. Feels way greater, right? But the knee will fall inwards, and you won't. So you can just kind of float around and stare off. So I find using external leverage, which is what we're doing, helps keep us tethered in and centered and focused and deliberate and embodied. And then simply sink over and explore that inner hip crease on the left side. Now visit the foundation of that left foot. Feel you're pulling up, spread the toes out best you can. Have a sense of that arch, healthy, strong, and vibrant towards the bones, the metatarsals, and a full heel. Now press through that full heel, come up, you activated the hamstrings, come in, and we'll just go right to the other side, no counter pose. So out, stay, and again, we're all gonna look different. So this might be how it feels the best, because you can really fill out and color in the posture and the work, or because sometimes going too far, this one, right? So you be the judge. Find out. And at some point, visit your foundation, that right foot, that's it. And release the holding. So think or sense every toe. Instead of the joints pulling into the broad part of your foot, they are releasing away from your foot, like a little sunburst. Push up, bring that leg in. Now we're facing the short end of our mat. I hope you are too. I am. You may need to adjust and scooch up, okay, depending on how long your legs are. You're going to take the right foot through. And we're just going to do a simple kneeling twist first. So the left hand can go on the right thigh, and the right hand goes onto the sacrum, palm in, just cradling that area. And you can notice if the pelvis starts to tilt into the hand, then you have this key to right it. And then breathe up the spine, lengthening through to the crown. So you want as much height every single time you enter a twist. And then exhale to some degree. Perhaps keep the chin in line with the spine. The neck is very mobile, but you can, maybe next time you can keep it rotating a little bit more. Being mindful that the lower back has like a 4-degree turn on it. Okay? So be gentle with that area. I mean, it's not going to, it's about, and the mid and upper back is there supporting your vital organs. So it has a bit more, but that's where we're moving into, okay? And then undo your twist. You probably, you know what, let's put our left hand down, and that will just help us. I think everybody, from what I can gather, I think everybody's going to need to lengthen a little bit because we're going into crescent with a bind. This should not be irritating your left knee. If it is, give much more connection to the top of your left foot or pat it, okay? So let's just let the hands drape down, allowing us to be mindful of the big, broad shoulders and a soft neck, and just drift the hips kind of forward and down. Being quite sensitive that this left hip isn't punching through the front. You want to feel not thin and skinny about it. You want to feel nice and rich through the hip flexor on the left side. Again, approach this area of the posture because this is where the body will release into it. and dump over the pelvis. So just keep that engaged, and because the hips are everywhere in the body, they will resist most strongly. Anything will take the opening than the hips. So here, the spine will, which is the lumbar. Hello, feels great, not. Okay. We're gonna plant the hands down, turn the toes under, get a little more purchase. So probably stepping the back foot inches forward and really reach down the back leg until you feel it wake up and it sort of stepped on the bus. And then remember, you can take it midline at the thigh to make it a little easier, or arrow lunge. Otherwise, try for full flight, pressing up and open. Both sets of toes looking forward and the arms reaching out to the sides of the space with the arms looking to the ceiling for the moment. Then, once you've established a nice foundation through the hips and the legs, we're not only, some of us give too much and don't receive, some receive too much and don't give. Hence the balance that we're working on in our practice. We need to receive and give equally here to find stability and balance. Arms out, thumb and first finger coming together like a raindrop, not a round circle, okay, not the nails. Elbows in, complementing the collarbones. Keeping the gaze, mine is keeps looking at you, but try to keep your gaze on the floor. Just allow. Okay, the hands are gonna come, release the mudra, bring the hands together, and it's come Anjali Mudra at the heart, and you're gonna bend this right leg, moving back into the left frontal hip. So here is a high lunge. Call the shoulder caps into the body. So it's like someone's pressing gently but mindfully on the tops of the shoulders. And every time you exhale, they move down towards your hips. Okay. Now, let's just let the hands come down to the hips. Just cradle the hips, elbows back. And this I've been working. So, did you see? So on here, we're going to go to warrior 1 foot. It's an angled foot. I can't quite see all your feet. The back foot is on the mat. The hips remain as they were, neutral. It's still a closed hip posture. Our hands are on our hips for the moment. Now, lift your heel up the right foot and put it down. You'll be pigeon-toed on the right foot. Lift the toes of your right foot and bring them out. I'm just doing, what are you doing? You're trying to just get a little more space like you do for dragonfly. So move your right foot towards the long side of your mat. Sorry, getting really, really hot. And now we're gonna, one of my favorite, we haven't practiced this and I was doing this. Hands come behind and clasp them. Okay. Start to lean, that back foot's gonna stay as it is. Lean like you're doing arrow lunge. And at some point, start to tuck the chin in, offering the back of the neck. Let the hands come up. Remember, if it's too much for the shoulders, just keep cradling the hips. And that's also easier to keep your hips nice and neutral. And come into humble warrior. You'll find a spot where you can breathe into the back body, allowing the crown of the head to softly look to the floor, keeping the hips, draw the tips will have a tendency to drift to the right. So try to keep mindful of that as you breathe in this strong, yet it's an inversion. Shoulder opener. And on an inhalation, find your footing. Slowly come back maybe to arrow, and then you can let go of your hands, bring them back to the hips. Pivot, lift the heel of the back foot and turn the toes. And see if you can come all the way, almost down to the mat. Just for a breath. And then find the mat. Try not to, please don't dump on the kneecap. Plant the hands, release the back foot. Come back and just come to the forearms, sending the hips towards the heels and just taking a Rahasya. I can't say this enough. When it's your own practice, this could be quite a long time until you're ready to move. It's a wonderful opportunity to really sink into the opening so that you feel how thick the right side of the body feels. Perhaps the left is in shadow. So let's rectify that. Come up. Left foot out. Right hand and the left hand. Begin by reaching up through the crown, getting your height to exhale into that kneeling twist. And you can have your arms, I should have said last time, you can have them floating. And personal twist. Feel the length on both sides of the neck of even. So you're not starting to tuck your left ear in. And we haven't even done a downward dog yet. Come back. Find the mat with the right hand. And this is where you might want to scoot your length. Okay, we're coming into crescent. Back away. Hands on the hips, slightly slowed. Bring the body forward and engaging the core. So feel quite taut in the front of your body, not expanding where the collarbone and the navel are moving away. They're actually being breathed towards one another. Hands drift behind. Oh, sorry. Did I have them? Yeah, they're on the hips. I just. Oh. Okay. Oh yes. That's the only problem with Zoom is I get taken and drawn into all of you, and then I sort of forget where I am. I'm sorry. Okay, put the hand on your thigh. And then plunk down, down, toes under, shorten the stance, and deliberately call in your left hip. If it's drifting towards the long side of your mat, you can even take the time, look down. If your hip is outside of your knee, pull it in. Keep doing that until you feel nice and supported through the foundation of the legs, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the calves, everything, and push up with that power. Arms come out, thumb and first finger come to the pad. So like that raindrop, elbows move in towards the waist and the hands kind of drop down. You know you have your sweet spot when your collarbones begin to sing and they sort of release again their hold on this fifth chakra area. Move down the pose, play around with the tension that building in the core. If you're feeling this posture in your lower back, it means it's a signal to engage your core a little bit more, because again, the right hip is not going to, it's going to work against us here. Release the mudra, hands to the heart. Bend that left leg for this high lunge. Still both sets of toes. Look forward. Hands come to the hips. And this is where we're going to find the mat with the back foot on an angle. So the right foot kind of looks up to the top right corner of your mat, or just past. And you're going to lift the heel or the toes, whatever, and you're going to just inch that left foot a little bit closer to the long side of the mat. We're coming into humble warrior. And stretch down into the ground and soak that ground energy up in, let it pool in the hips. Hands come behind. Shoulders in the front have to open as the knuckles move towards the ground. And then we lean. At some point, we snug up the belly, dip the chin, allow the hands to float up and over. And then breathe in. So it has an effect on the kidneys on the right side in the spine. But notice how, I hope how you sense it, how it feels. Strong posture, but really soft. So come back up. It's a prostration, right? It's an offering. Come up. Pivot on that back foot, lower the knee towards the ground. Again, release the joint surfaces of the teeth. Find the ground, slowly release the foot, take the leg back. Sit towards the heels and just find the forearms on the mat. One more time. And then stretch the arms away. Shoulders over the wrists, toes under, and you find that high plank right here. So lining up the body, we were in hinging. There were angles on the last poses, so we're just kind of feel like you're taking all the wrinkles out of a page of paper and you're just ironing it out. And let's get the hinge. So pull the hips up, send the energy from the hips down the legs. Feel the ground beneath the feet first, and then move the awareness to the hands. And then keep flowing between, feel like the breath is moving up the hands, into the hips, the fulcrum, and down towards the heels, fire up the thighs. Let's do back to plank there, complementary shoulder taps. Squeeze in, belly pulled up, taut. Push the ground away, invert, downward dog. Find that imaginary door frame for the side of the shoulders, the side of the hips. One more, back to plank. Feel the collarbones, nice, broad, that's nice. Pull up and back, downward dog. And then simply, if you want, you could hop, you can step, or you can walk up to the hands. At some point, you'll have to bend the knees quite dramatically. Get the belly deeply embedded to the thighs and let the head fall. So you'd be in this tiny, tiny tuck, dropping the hips and soaking up the benefit of this stretch from crown to tailbone. And then begin to press into the ground with your feet and move up into half stand. It's quite a strong posture. Arms come alongside the body. Oh, just, I should have said, if your legs are glued together, give them a bit of space here. Bend at the knees and take yourself into a wide leg utkatasana with the arms first up, shoulder height. And then the whole arm, not just the wrists, the whole arm opens. So the palms, the eyes of the elbow look to the ceiling, the belly is strongly engaged so the soft organs are not falling over the bowl. And then we're going to lean forward in our space, lift the heels as high as you can muster, drop the pose. Keep the knife edge side of the pinky fingers looking at one another. Slowly open the arms towards each other and bring them together. Feel the upper back release its hold on the shoulder blades. Bring them in. Slowly rise up if you can, keeping the heels. And then find the mat with the heels. Let the hands down. With me. We're going to go directly in matching those closed hip. We're going to match it with open hip standing. So we will step back. We're going to do it to the front of the mat. Step back in a long fashion with your left leg. And remember, this is not close, so the hips aren't neutrally looking to the short end of the mat. They are also not looking directly to the side end of the mat. Slightly off kilter. Bend that right leg. And play around with your stance. So if your hip is pulled in and the hip points are completely on the same plane, you will feel it in the back knee. So drop that back hip a little bit, find your pose. When you feel strong to the base, add the arms up. The arms are not superficial or just an addition. They're an important part of the posture of radiating energy very strongly. And we're going to do incredibly classically. And bringing the gaze over the middle finger, moving into the left, so the scaling on the left side of your neck. Allow the chin to be soft. And now light up the pose. Usually, I envision reds, yellows, oranges. Press the ground away to that right heel. Straighten the legs. Keep the arms as they are and simply windmill up and over, getting out of that right hip. Ooh, you didn't hear my spine. Breathe again through the top side of the body, through the fingertips. And then clicky clack, close up the right side of the body, find neutral. Bend that right leg again. Lift the heel of the right foot and bring that right hand or forearm down. It will be the forearm eventually. Why don't we just do the hand? Open the left, reach it up out of the hip, and come into a variation on Parsvakonasana. If it's too much or any cramping, just lower that right heel. If you want more, you can come down to the forearm or reach up out of it and be okay with that huge shape. Put that right heel back down. Wherever you are, if you lifted your hands like I did, bring the right hand back down. Press up, bring the left hand to the left hip, and simply lift on that heel so you can step back, neutralizing the hips and finding the top of the mat with a safe back leg. Do the same on the other side. Stepping back with the right leg, nice and long. Bending, adjusting, finding your spacing. Finding the length in the waist, the engagement here. Arms up, and they're held up by the chest and the back. Take the gaze. And refine it. Go to the shadows. Go to where you feel overexposed. Often here it starts, as you lose it in the posture, it will express through overwork here. So you start to like release your sternum and your navel to your pubic bone, the front line. So you want to keep that engaged. Okay. Lift. Bring the hand down. Right one up. And this is where you can decide how you want to express this variation of an extended side angle. Leg, you can always drop the heel. Visit the left waist and breathe the energy up to the middle finger in your left hand. That's what you want. Put that heel down. The hand can come down, press up, and release. Back, pivot, step forward. Just take a moment, standing at the top of the mat, arms down by their sides, just open them slightly so the pinky finger sides reach the side of the body, and you can just sort of play around with the foundation, maybe it's side to side, or drawing circles as you redistribute the weight through the sides of the feet, the heel, the other sides, the toes. And then lower the chin towards the chest, keep the chest nice and broad and lifted. And then we're going to do figure four. So if you have a wall that you'd like to use, go to it. Left leg will be the standing leg. You bend it ever so slightly. You think of moving into Utkatasana, a very shallow Utkatasana to start with. And you take the right leg and you cross it. It's important to keep the right ankle strong so it's not dangling. So that keeps a nice strong right leg. Hands can come on the hips or your wall. And it's about sort of opening that book of the hip. Sorry. Play around, be curious. What happens if you lift the left hip? Oh, or if you lift the right hip? Or if you find evenly rooted hips and send the hips evenly to the back of your space or wherever you are. And it's about your right hip primarily. The left leg is gaining strength. Come up. When you come to stand straight, beat that left leg off, bring it high, wrap your arms around, or your right leg off. Yeah. and then simply bring it down somewhere. It won't be your highest point. Bring the hand to the heart. Gaze soft and bring the arms up. Hands down. Close that knee forward. Plant the foot. Try not to wiggle about. Just let the redistribution of weight and work happen on its own. And then bending the right leg, crossing the left. Sending the hips back slowly, but progressing into this figure four hip opener. Again, you can put your hands on the inside of your left knee and the ankle. And press into that right standing leg. Close off and lift the left knee. Wrap around. If you can, bring it up higher. Upper chest and upper back feel like they're neutral. And then simply open it. It will not be your high tree shape. Bring the palms in. Up. Down. Close the knee off. Plant the foot. And allow. Maybe closing the eyes. Again, this is where the magic happens. The soaking it up, the waiting. And bring the legs together. So a narrower foundation. You can have the hands wherever you like. A little bit easier is on the hips. Lift both heels. Bring it symmetrically and drop. So I'm going to go down. I think a lot of us know where you need to stop. Coming down. Down. And then if you're down like I'm, you can play around with finding a full foot to a variation of Malasan. It's shaped like this. Okay. It's one of those things that's easier when you're down there. Up. Or just find your bottom on the mat. Wrap your arms around the shins. Let the chin come in. Swallow up your belly. Or even hug even closer if that feels better. I like it a little wider, but and we'll cross the legs. The hands on the side, lift the hips and recenter. So shift the weight a bit forward. Plop back down. Put the hands on either side of the left thigh. And mirror the spine over the left thigh. And then wait for it. Keep really rooted through both seats. So not only your left, but your right as you hinge over that left leg. To hinge. It doesn't have to go far, but as I said before, sometimes you might feel like stretching the arms out and really collapsing over it. But initially, this is about moving into the ropey muscles and releasing that work around in the lower back on the right side. That's what we're kind of working towards. And the inquiry is make your way up. Find center. Move over. In. Now it's over the right. And again, your hands, the placement of the hands will change how it resonates, and also is sort of like the gas pedal if you want to bring some traction in. And you pull the hands towards that right side of your body. Stretch it out. Close the legs up and send both of them out in a V. So this is not great for a block beneath your hips, but a soft blanket may be nice. Just take the legs out sort of as far as you can just feel some reaction, but it's not overdoing, right? Strong up the legs, ankles are strong, toes up to the ceiling. And if anything, imagine the legs are falling outwards this way, away from that central. And then seek the floor. Draw the chest up, feel the shoulder blades move down the back, maybe bending at the elbows to lean a little closer. Just observe. And we have time. So while we're practicing, move in to your spine here. Take time to align. Have the spine feel like it's just going along for the ride. If you feel your lower back expressing towards the ceiling, you've gone too far, and the lower back has taken the posture and the work away from where we want it, which is the hips and the groins. So going less deep, sometimes the way. I mean, yes, you'll see people all the way down, but take hold of the legs and just help them up behind the hamstrings and the knees slowly. And just, we'll be working to the top of the mat, the short end. Bring your right shin in line with your hip, and the shin parallel to the front of your mat, give or take. A left one, lean over to the right. Okay, and take your left one out. With the shape like the center of a 45 record. Look at it. The hands in, lift, okay, and really send your hips, especially your right hip, to the back behind you, because it will want to sneak forward, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So this is kind of a modified pigeon frog pose. It's a lot of things all in one. Support this ankle by flexing this, by flexing it, and perhaps let's try lining up your right waist with sort of the midline of your right thigh. Try that. How does it feel? Put your hands to support. Maybe it feels better to move in a little bit towards the foot. You be the judge. If your left knee is tweaking or anything, it's a sign you need to back away or bring it up or pat it with a little t-shirt or something. Really shouldn't. This is primarily about the right hip, glutes, piriformis. And explore. You need more depth. How are you going to find it within your vessel? I'm not going to tell you. Once you find it, it's sort of like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you find it, you can't unfind it. That's the beauty. What is it? Rolling forward with the hips. And then progress out of it. It's going to take us all a different amount of time because we're all in different shapes. Come up, support this left leg first, and then the right one, and you'll come back to center and recreate that on the other side. And don't expect it to be the same. So I'm mirroring this. This is actually my right side, your left, and my really tight side these days. So feel what it's like if you just entered it like this. What's going to take the pose? The lower back. So we're going to insist, but processing more deeply, lifting ourselves up, replanting, sending that left hip to the back of our space, really getting the alignment. That's not about perfection. That's about alignment. Health, effectiveness, and working with alignment, I think, takes us out of the ego. It's not about how far you go. It's not about perfection. It's about aligning ourselves up within our own unique vessel. And then fold over. Or keep working to find your expression of this. Up the right leg. And don't worry if you're still coming up, just take your own time. Just take a moment to sit evenly, drawing the chest high. And then if you need something like your eye bag or socks on in your space or anything, we won't be getting back up. So if you want to stretch around and get your things that you like to have for your restoring phase, which will be Shavasana probably, you may choose something else. Once you have that on or handy, let's just make sure that the block is accessible from when we come down. And we'll take our soles of our feet together, farther than we normally do for seated Baddha Konasana. So don't jam the heels up towards your groin. Give a little bit of space, more of a diamond. And then we'll find the mat with the forearms. And have the forefingers on the outside and the thumb sort of beneath your back for a moment. And then elbows out, drop down, and press into those thumbs. Let the core press in. Feel what happens with the legs and the pull of the groin. And then release. Find your natural lumbar curve. Take the hands, we'll bring them into the pit of the belly between the hip points. Second chakra. And just breathe here for a moment. We'll begin by taking our left hand above our heads, just along the floor. Close the legs up together, find the mat with the bottom of both feet. Send the left leg out to the bottom left corner of your mat and take your right one to cross it over or leave it beside, either one. If you lose purchase of your right bottom on the mat, find it again. Drop a lead weight through your right hip. Press into the back of the head and lift your shoulders off and just ease them over towards the left top. And you're gonna take hold of the right wrist as you stretch it up with the left hand. And take some really nice cycles of breath into, it should be the whole right chain, but you may find that you're gonna work on the right medius, the hip, or the waist, or the breathing muscles, or the sides of the shoulder. Just really feel that right side of the body dropping and making connection with the ground. And then let go of that tension. Undo the legs, come to center, and just we'll move it over to the other side. Extend the right arm up, right leg over, left leg over, across it or beside it. Drop the left hip into the ground. Press into the head. You can scooch the shoulders over a little bit more, or the upper back. Take hold of the left wrist. And of course, there's your gas pedal. You want to give a little more stretch, then you pull it up out of the waist. And the breath will be directed into the side. Or the opening, as I should say. Okay, let go, uncross the legs, come back to center. Take your time to find center, bring the legs up and sort of constructive rest. Bring both legs together, knees above the hips, shins together. Arms can just come down by the side and simply press your lower back into the mat. Be less concerned with how far those knees come forward and more connected to engaging the core down so you feel the lower back flatten into the mat. The knees will come forward, but it's going to be subtle. So what I mean is don't swing from the knees or the hips. This is just a nice final warming of the belly. I like to do this before this twist that we're about to do. Again, you could go on for longer if it felt good. I like it. But we're going to stop at some point, which is probably now. So knees over the hips. Cross the right leg over the left. Okay. And drop the left foot back down to the mat. No. And then slowly drift over. And you may find it feels great through the muscles of your body. So the glutes, as you roll over, you will not be perpendicular. Your spine won't be perpendicular to your legs. So be okay with that. And then explore some opening the front of the shoulders where the lymph nodes are. So maybe bending that right elbow, drawing semicircles. I don't know, make it feel good. Or nothing. Just lying in the twist. And just sort of yielding to gravity to deepen the twist instead of moving in the twist. I see. And slowly ease out of it. Find your way back to center, undoing that cross and making that shape on the other side. Over again, you can find more depth if you put your hand on this left thigh. Or something that feels good. Stillness or movement. And come back up. Take a moment. If you'd like, you can just place your hips on that block and now you keep your feet down in this lifted posture, or take your legs, lift them up, slightly bend at the knees. Do this variation of legs up the wall. Or you can simply go straight into working into Shavasana, stretching your body out. If you haven't started, then you can slowly make your way down, lift the hips from the block, put it aside. Taking the legs down and slightly away from each other. Then the arms out and slightly away from the side of the body so you can feel a complete release all the way up into the underarm. If you're touching anything like I just was, just move it away. So you're not focused on anything external. Just simply let the body cuddle for some cycles of breath, noting the exhalation, just dropping in. Sense releasing away, unbinding, soothing, restoring, rejuvenating. And as you're at home in your own space, you can choose to stay here for longer. Usually be longer. Otherwise, you can slowly allow the inhalations to sort of begin to fill us back up, becoming aware of the outer edges of the body, perhaps the ground, space around, fingers, taking a stretch. Coming to your side and up to sitting when you feel ready to move, unless you're going to stay in Shavasana for a little bit longer. Take a moment here. Seated, slipping the corners of the mouth. Just taking a moment to embrace a sense of gratitude. Perhaps a sense of accomplishment, or simply a pat on the back for taking the time for yourself, for your yoke practice. And I thank you for sharing it with me. Go into your snowy day.